Yo, 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 yo. It's your boy Tio, as you know.
It's your boy O Rain, real name, no games, no gimmicks.
Yo, it's the motherfucking Fade Podcast, the one-stop shop for everything TV, media, and film related, along with any other goddamn thing you want to talk about, coming to you live, direct, Proof of Concept Studios. What in the fuck is up? What's happening?
I'll tell you what's up. Listen, Blacklist just released season 8 on Netflix.
Yeah.
This is one of my favorite times, not necessarily of the year, because I don't know like the yearly cadence of when they release seasons, but if you know me, you know that Blacklist is one of my favorite shows. Raymond Reddington, the concierge of crime, he's my hero. Listen,
The concierge of crime. What the fuck does that mean?
It means like
He
whatever
escorts
delicate
crime to where it needs to go.
Yes, exactly. He is the whatever delicate crime you want, whatever you want to order up, he will deliver to you in just beautiful fashion. Whether it's espionage, you want like secret government information, you want to call in a hit, whatever the thing you might want to indulge in, he will be able. He's the guy you call, right?
Okay.
So Blacklist is season 8 is up on Netflix, and there are those shows that, like, for me at least, like, impact who you become in that moment of time in which you're watching the show. Like, whatever your favorite show might be, whether you like to have Sex in the City, or whether you're Breaking Bad, or if you're if you're a Soprano now and you're in the Italian Mafia, whatever your thing might be, whether you embody Tony Soprano or Walter White. For me, it's Raymond Reddington. You're watching the show and you talk like the character, and your mannerisms become the character on the show, and like you just really ingrain yourself in the show and the storyline. That is what happens to me. Blacklist is back. My storytelling.
I never watched Blacklist. Is that the same thing? Is that the one that what's his name?
You
is on?
dog.
Is that the one James Spader's on? Blacklist.
Yes, Robert California. You know him from The Office. We're talking about James Spader. We're talking about Ultron. One of my favorite.
Have you watched the rest of What If?
No, but in an alternate universe, I'm sure there's like a storyline going on about like what if I did watch it. You tell me. What am I missing?
Well, no, it says because Ultron ends up playing a pretty big role in what happens. Spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't watched What If yet, but basically they run a storyline of what if Ultron actually won. So what if he actually ended up uploading his consciousness to, or I guess his whatever the fuck you want to call him, to Vision. Because you know how like that's what he was trying to do in Age of Ultron, is upload himself to Vision, who had the Mind Stone in. And this is and they explore what would happen if he did do that.
I saw a snippet of it where it's like he killed Thanos, took the Infinity Gauntlet
in timely fashion. And the Avengers are fucking around here trying to concoct these crazy ass. Yo, you know what? What If confirmed? What If confirmed how trash Vision was. Is what that series dictated to me. Ultron, in precisely 5 seconds, if that, saw Thanos, dismissed them, took his Infinity Gauntlet, right? And then what the fuck did Vision do? You gotta kill me. You gotta kill me. What the fuck are you talking? Yo, he was so weak in all of Infinity War that it was unbearable how weak he was. Like, I understand he got deboed like from the start of Infinity War, but it just like Ultron just dismissed him with a little laser down the middle, and he just took care of him.
So, and here's the thing though, Vision in Age of Ultron was like, this guy is not
he
can't fuck with him. He picked up Thor's hammer. He was bodying all of Ultron's little minions. Like he was just fucking shit up left and right.
In Infinity War, he looked like he would have lost in Squid Games, like the first round. Like a little.
Oh yeah,
he would have been out.
Red light, green light. You know what that says? Like, once you get into a long-term relationship, your testosterone's gone, your manhood is gone. Because in Endgame, in Infinity War, he was just all about Scarlet Witch, right?
Yeah.
Now he's a married man. He's a dad. He's like at fucking parent teacher conferences. That's why Thanos fucked him up.
Yeah. There's
Lost his
too much
edge.
on his mind. But I don't know. Sometimes family makes you a little stronger, right? Like, I think
Not
that's
in his case.
Yeah, fair
He
enough.
literally died.
It definitely made him weaker.
Weak as fuck.
All right. Look, unless you had any more to add to that, I know you were trying to get to a point with your blacklist thing, but I think we can.
No. Listen, my point was like, I love this time when your favorite show comes back on with a new season and you just get to like really immerse yourself into it. For me, it's Blacklist. If you guys haven't seen Blacklist, I highly recommend you check it out. James Spader as fucking the concierge of crime as Raymond Reddington is absolutely stellar. It's one of my favorite shows. I highly recommend you guys check it out too.
Yeah. There you go. Blacklist has never been one of those shows that's been on my mind. Also, didn't they change like the actress who was like supposed to be, I guess, his daughter or some shit?
No, she's been there from the beginning. She is pure dog shit.
Jesus,
I wouldn't hire her
Jesus
on Angie's
Christ.
list to pick up my dog shit. Her acting ability, there's no calm here. He is she's no fucking good. Like if they would have recast her mid episode, like episode 1 of the entire series, if like 15 minutes in they just recasted her, I'd be like,
right.
Yeah, okay.
That seems all right.
Yeah.
Well, fair enough. Yeah. It's always I've never watched Blacklist, so I couldn't verify the things you're saying, but I do know what it's like when like one particular actor or actress is bringing down like a show that you're just like, if this was just different, it would just change everything.
I everybody else is great. Everybody else is great, but her, she is the analogy of like the weak link in the chain.
Yeah.
Like she is the one. Like she will sink the ship.
Yeah. Well,
thank God for James Spader.
Yeah, you could say she's the vision of Blacklist. All right. So
or Hawkeye.
No, Hawkeye came through in some very clutch moments. I'm not gonna lie to you.
He should have. Listen. It should have been him, not Black Widow. Let's be real.
I think we were all hoping that. But honestly, what if sort of what if opened the door for that? Perhaps maybe to be the case. They gave us a little back doorway to where Black Widow might not be so done as we thought, which is why I think one of the things we're going to mention in our this week next week segment is look, ScarJo coming ahead to with this Disney thing that they settled. Yeah, I don't know, dude. I feel like this was always headed towards a settlement. But
of course. Yeah, this is not going to be a long drawn out thing.
No, well, it's no longer drawn out because it's over. They've essentially settled. So let me read here a little bit from Screen Rant. The resolution of Scarlett Johansson's lawsuit against Disney is reportedly tied to her role in the upcoming Tower of Terror movie adaptation. Johansson leveled a suit against Disney back in July after the company decided to release the Black Widow Disney Plus. The lawsuit, which has since garnered the support of other actors and celebrities, alleges that this new release strategy hurt the film's box office revenue, thus negatively impacting Johansson's payment for the film. Johansson was reportedly paid $20 million. But the lawsuit recently reached a settlement with Johansson reportedly receiving a payout of $40 million. Both Johansson and Disney made public statements that about resolving the lawsuit, with Disney chairman Alan Bergman making clear that the company was looking forward to collaborating with Johansson on future projects, including specifically Disney's Tower of Terror. So basically, they had this project coming up. They knew, fuck, all right, well, we got to give you something because we got this other movie in the pipeline. You're scheduled to be in it. We got to figure out what the fuck is, what we're going to do going forward. Plus, I would have to imagine that there's something in her Marvel future here. I just, with the way that What If ended, leaves you with this feeling that that she's not quite done in the Marvel universe as Black Widow. At least as much as we thought. I think there might be a cameo or something like that in the future for her, especially with this whole fucking multiverse, many worlds theory, or many worlds idea.
Like the multiverse. Is that what you're talking about? Many worlds or multiverse?
It's it's not exactly the same thing, but yes, long story short, yes.
Yeah, I mean, like, so I saw settlement coming. Like, I felt like this is a thing that neither side wanted to drag out. I mean, like, let's be real, Disney's got the money.
I think ScarJo is willing to fucking hold their feet to the fire here. I don't think she gave a shit. She's like, all right, whatever. If you want me to be in your movie, cool. If not, I got some other projects. Don't worry. We're good.
Sure, but I mean, like, I feel like Disney was at a point where it's like, you know, like we've got the money, we respect you as a talent. We want to make sure that our working relationship moving forward is amicable. Let's find a number that you're comfortable with. Let's settle, and like let's get back to positive publicity, right? That's really what it comes down to. You're fucking up the money.
Yeah, but Disney was kind of, well, she wasn't. They were fucking up the money, right? Because you know, and here's what I'll say. Disney got like oddly personal with it, where they put her stats out there in terms of how much money she was making off of like what her base salary was for Black Widow. They basically like kind of trashed her in terms of like, well, I don't know why she would be doing this. This seems to be hurting the brand versus helping the brand. And it's just like, fam, what the fuck? Like, did she steal somebody's like lunch money? Like, did she?
See, no, I don't think it was personal. I think it's just like contract information, right? It just is like athletes do the same thing.
Who else have they? No, not athletes, actors or actresses. We're talking about customary to one's profession, right? When is it like a studio? Not saying that agents don't let out information. Not saying that the media is privy to certain information, but when has a studio come out and be like, this person's making this much, so they should shut the fuck up? Like, when has that ever been the case?
Listen, there's never a wrong time. If I'm the head of the studio, right? So we've both seen the morning show on Apple TV. This is something Billy, was it? Is it Cundip? What's his name?
Cudip?
Billy Cudip? This is something he would do. Well, we're paying you $40 million to be a face,
he's
right? We can replace you with any other face.
Private back and forth conversations behind the scenes, not like in fucking the New York Times bold headline.
Yeah, so I'm sure they've had this conversation. I'm sure they had this conversation in private. Now it's like, oh, let's leak that conversation. We paid you a lot of fucking money.
But again,
you did great. Thank you.
The distinction that I'll make here, and we can quickly move on from this. The distinction I'll make there is that leaking it to the press is different from literally coming out with a press statement saying this much, right? I agree with you. They might leak that, or they might do this or that. There's tons of games that they play. But for them to just come out with a press release and be like, yo, we paid you $20 million, so we expect you to shut the fuck up and be a good soldier, that's a bridge too far. In my
I'd have did the same thing. I'd have did the same thing.
It sounds like something you do. So.
With a smile. We paid you a lot of money. There are hungry people all over the country. You got $25 million. Shut the fuck up, Black Widow. But anyway, I'm glad to see a resolution here. A lot of great things coming from Marvel.
We'll see how that works for you the next time you've got contract negotiations. If the company's like, yeah, Rain, we paid you whatever your base salary is. Why don't you shut the fuck up and enjoy what we gave you? Okay, how about you do that?
That's how I negotiate all my contracts.
Is by telling them to shut the fuck up. I don't think that they ask for.
I can't make the Zoom call. Send me the recap email.
All right, let's trek on here. Look, let's talk about some movie stuff before we get into this, like, not necessarily gossip stuff, but just like general stuff. Let's talk about movies that are coming out this week and next week. So we got No Time to Die. Finally, Bond is coming out after what feels like an eternity. This is like the one movie that I remember around the time of that the beginnings of the pandemic, where it was just like, fuck, this movie was just about to come out, and then got delayed. So a year overdue, and from what I understand, it's tracking pretty nicely to not have a bad day, for the release. So what's your look? Shout out to Serge. Me and Serge had a conversation because you couldn't make our meeting this week, you son of a bitch. But
what was I doing again?
Nothing. As I scratching your balls on the couch.
See this line?
Yeah,
I was looking rough.
Get your money back. So we were having a conversation about Bond, right? And I was kind of explaining to him, like, I have no interest in. I kind of hate Bond, if I'm being perfectly honest here, because it's the same story rehashed over like 60 years, and it's so played the fuck out. Daniel Craig's version of Bond has clearly changed the game. But what I realized it is that I hate stories that don't have a beginning, middle, and an end. And if there's one fucking character on the screen that has had no such effort to make a beginning, middle, end to their story, it's James fucking Bond. We have lived through like 60 years of these films, and every time it's just a fucking rehash of the same exact thing. Bond is dope, and he does dope shit, and he sleeps with hella women, and he always wins in the end. I've described literally every James Bond movie ever. How fucking interesting is that over 60 fucking years, or however long Bond's been?
You know what? Vision. You're right. He's been doing this so long. I would love to see like more of like who James Bond is, like when he's not
with Daniel Craig's iteration of Bond. So I've been happier with Craig's take on Bond or the stories that they've developed, because they've actually given us an actual story arc to follow. Right. Everything else is. And look, I defy anybody. Go back to watch any.
Wait, so this is the 25 movies, though. This is the 25th movie, right?
Movie, correct. Yeah.
So yeah, at this point, it's like I need to know a little bit more about Bond. What do you do on your off day, right? Like, you know, all these women that you slept with, like you've had to have got, you know, gonorrhea once. Like, you know,
or
I want to see
pregnant.
that.
I know there's a. I
want to see that time in the hospital room. Like, damn, I really got to save. I really got to defuse that bomb, but I do need these antivirals.
You got that penicillin?
After 25 movies, I need a little bit more. But no, I'm not gonna lie. I'm very excited for Bond. Like, I feel like this character and this story is one of those where it's like, you know, do I care about the beginning? No. Do I want to see a great end? Sure. But I'm living for all the shit in between. I just love the character, and I want the character story to continue. Like, short-term memory, right? Like, I saw the last movie. Oh, you saved the world. Oh, next movie, you're gonna save the world again. Fuck it, let's go. Right? That's the ride I'm here for.
No, I think
when I go to Six Flags America, I don't care how they built the ride or the engineering behind the coaster and, you know, fucking momentum and trajectory. No, listen, I just want to get on it and go and have fun. I don't care about the beginning. I don't care about the end. I just want to have fun.
How many times can you ride the same exact ride before you're
25 apparently.
So wait, so you've enjoyed all 25 of the Bond movies, is what you're telling me?
Right? No, I'm not gonna lie. Like, was I old enough to really appreciate Octopussy and like the Roger Moore Bonds and who was it? It wasn't Anthony Hopkins. It was or was it Anthony Hopkins?
No, Sir Roger Moore.
Sir Roger Moore and fucking.
Dalton, whatever the fuck his name is. I think it's Tony Dalton.
I got into Bond when Pierce Brosnan was GoldenEye and you know, Tomorrow Never Dies and those. That's when I got into the
Tomorrow
Bond
Never
movies.
Dies was horrible. GoldenEye, obviously nostalgia, both because of the movie as well as the game. Tomorrow Never Dies, really forgettable.
What was the other one with Halle Berry?
No. We shot.
World Is Not Enough.
Hold on. No, that's not the one with Halle Berry. But The World Was Not Enough was probably my favorite Bond movie before Skyfall came.
My favorite is Casino Royale.
That's fair. A lot of people would argue that. So of the Brosnan era, I would say that GoldenEye as well as The World Is Not Enough, Die Another Day. It might be one of the worst movies I think I've ever seen in my life.
Was that the one with like Denise Richards
and Halle Berry? Yes, it was so bad and so silly that it's almost not describable. I feel like you just have to watch it in order just to see how preposterous it is. And that's really why
you can watch that movie on mute for sure.
Or just not watch it at all. Like, you could try that too. That might be a better strategy. But that was the movie that was just like, they're like, no, we've got to go back to the drawing board. Okay, we got to get serious again. We got to get people respecting us again. Okay, this is fucking James Bond we're talking about.
They did that movie in a week.
they tried to. The writing would dictate that. But I say all that to say that even at its best, which is so like I said, the world is not enough, and I'm excluding the Daniel Craig era. The World Is Not Enough was probably my favorite Bond. Even that was kind of silly. But like, dude, going back and watching, because I used to actually watch these movies. Like, my dad had like the fucking VHS tapes of Doctor No, fucking Moonraker,
Doctor No, holy shit.
all of these movies. So we'd sit down, we'd watch it, dude. These movies were so fucking boring, dude. They were so boring. Like, the effort that they just airlifted the plot out of the previous movie, made some minor changes to the villain and the women that Bond slept with, and then they were like, we got another one, guys. They were like fucking DJ Khaled. They were like, another one.
Let's be real. Roger Moore's Bond really was just like a sex offender. Like, I feel like he would just like put quaaludes. He would just put quaaludes in like the women's drinks, like, tell me all you know about the secret Russian missile.
How is that different from any other Bond, though? I don't understand. Why is he a sex offender but nobody else is?
Because the other Bonds would use martinis, without the quaaludes. Roger Moore's was like all about the quaaludes. Right. So it was a dark time in Bond writing. They were like, yo, let's simplify this shit. Like, let's let this random assistant know all about the Russian missiles, and then that's how we're gonna solve the crime. At least like the more recent Bond movies, like they have plot to it, they have character to it.
I would argue
Daniel Craig is the best Bond ever, in my opinion. I do also really like Pierce Brosnan as Bond. I know he had like The World Is Not Enough wasn't the greatest, but I still enjoyed that movie. The old ones, Roger Moore and whoever the fuck else played Bond, those movies were dog shit.
Yeah, look, but obviously, like, and we'll talk about this later with Squid Games, right? But different movies are different eras, right? Like, so obviously the Sean Connery Bond, the Roger Moore Bond, the and we won't mention the lesser known Bonds. Like, I think his name's something Dalton. I forget what his first name is.
Andy Dalton.
I
don't think went on to play for the Bengals.
I don't think the Red Rifle played Bond, but maybe his dad did. I don't know. But they're Pierce Brosnan, Daniel Craig, right? Different Bonds for different eras. So each of these movies sort of dealt with different themes and different ideas, right? And that kind of mimicked the era. Like, I remember watching one thing that basically talked about how Bond, the movies tend to be what we demanded them to be for their time, right? Which I feel like is true, with a lot of the stuff going on in the 80s going into the 90s, you dealt with more sort of a Cold War type of vibe and situation. In the Daniel Craig era, you're dealing with with more post 9/11, which is sort of distrust in our own intelligence agencies and distrust in our own governments, and Bond's sort of disillusionment with his own sort of existence, So
I just looked it up. GoldenEye came out in 1995, so I feel like to your point, perfect timing, right? There's this like mid 90s era where it's like this like bravo male masculinity on hero saving the damsel in distress.
Well, I mean, that's literally
that like 90s charm about film. Not much storytelling, but like, does it look good? Is it sexy? And is it fun? Like that.
Well,
90s
it's interesting
film.
that you say that, because some people would say that Pierce Brosnan was actually like sort of the intro of the and again, this doesn't come from me. I forget what video I watched, but they talked about this. It was like the metrosexual, dude, who was kind of like the cross between, worrying about like having his shit together versus like being like the dude who would just like pummel people, to that. So he's sort of the in between there. But anyways, I digress. I kind of hate Bond, so I'm not really looking forward to this, but I do want to see the conclusion to Daniel Craig's iteration of Bond. But if I'm being honest, I think I'm done with Bond. And if it weren't, and I'll say this here, if it weren't for Jason Bourne, I think Bond would kind of be dead right now, because Bourne forced the Daniel Craig era to begin, right? Because once they saw what Jason Bourne was able to do, they were like, nah, fuck that. We got to get some shaky cam in here. We got to get some fucking action in here. Somebody who can fucking punch, throw a punch, and not just throw a gun at somebody.
Great question. Who would win in a fight? Jason Bourne
I don't think it's
James Bond?
Why is that a question? How is
so
that a question?
I think
Bourne
I think
would whoop his ass.
Wait, so like Matt Damon as Jason Bourne or Daniel Craig as James Bond? So while I think
So I think when did Bourne come out? That was what, 2000 what?
I remember I was
earlier.
dating
That's
this.
probably like two.
I was talking to this ugly girl at the time. It had to have been like 2006. Was that 2006? Born Identity was 2002.
Yeah, that's what I knew, was that early. Die Another Day came out 2002 as well, if I'm not mistaken about that. So really, we're catching the end of the Pierce Brosnan era. So that's who you got to compare. So Damon versus Brosnan.
No, but like Born Legacy came, like those movies, all Born Legacy, Born Ultimatum. I think Born Legacy was the last one, but that was Jeremy Renner. So Matt Damon's last one was 2007. So I would put him up against.
No, it wasn't. He just came out of a movie.
Daniel
recently.
Craig.
Who? They just came out with. Bourne.
Oh yeah, Bourne. Jason Bourne. That was 2016. Yeah. So no, you got to put Matt Damon versus Daniel Craig. While I think Matt Damon would win in like a straight up fist fight, I think Daniel Craig as James Bond is more crafty, and I think he'd win in the fight ultimately.
Fucking Bourne's out there killing niggas with like fucking pens and shit and pencils, like, and books. Like, what do you mean somebody more creative? What?
I mean, so did about? James Bond. James Bond killed.
He needs
people
fucking
with
Q.
Other stuff.
Who's Q for fucking Jason Bourne? Jason Bourne is his own Q. Okay, that's how fucking.
In a straight up fist fight in a bathroom, Jason Bourne's got it. In like if it were more a crafty fight in a kitchen or in a bathroom, Bourne's got it. In the kitchen, Bond's got it.
Whatever. You just say things to say them. All right.
I'm referring to specific movie scenes.
Yeah, I was also. He killed people with both pencils and fucking books. I saw him just beat the shit out of somebody with the fucking book. It wasn't even. It wasn't even a hardcover book. I think it was. Like the yellow.
No, that was a yellow page.
Come on, dude.
If you kill me with yellow pages, I would 100% haunt you. Even if God were to like arraign, like, hear heaven's gates, welcome to, an infinite life of happiness. Send me back. He killed me with a yellow book.
Let me cut you off there.
This motherfucker.
It's if they killed you with a white book, then we got some problems. All right? That's disrespectful.
All right. What Harry Potter book would be the worst? If you kill me with the fucking Prisoners of Azkaban, I gotta haunt you. If it's the Sorcerer's Stone, or a Goblet of Fire, like, okay, right. You know what? My time's up. But if it's the Prisoners of Azkaban, no.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
All right, so Bond's coming out this week. Looking forward to seeing the final Daniel Craig iteration of Bond. Lamb's coming out this week, which is from A24. It looks like a weird ass movie. Definitely.
Weird as fuck.
Yeah,
this movie
coming out next week. The Last Duel. We just talked about Matt Damon, right? With Damon, Batfleck. What's his name? The dude I love. He was Kylo Ren.
Adam Driver,
yes. They're all in that shit, and apparently it's supposed to be really good. Directed by Ridley Scott. Halloween Kills, which I'm oddly looking for, dude. I'm really into Halloween this year. I don't know what it is. I'm into scary movies, dude.
Have you got your costume ready? What are you gonna be?
I don't even know where the fuck I'm going yet. So why would I pick out a costume if I don't know, like, if I'm even venturing?
Me neither.
Out?
But I've got two. I got two tossed up, and it's a hard debate. I've been planning on this one for years. So on one hand, I want to be O.J. Simpson. Like, literally in my Amazon cart, I got the O.J. jersey, I got the O.J. mask, the black glove, and the knife.
Year, dude.
I know, dude.
I want to do dressed up as O.J., dude. Like, what?
Me and O.J.
Okay.
I can't wait till he hey, Twitter world, I saw this great costume.
Christ,
I can't wait for it. Or my other costume, I'm not sure if you saw like Kanye's like Donda album listening parties, like he wore like the all red outfit with like the face mask. I've got an all red outfit,
like
the bubble,
like a fucking like 90s like poofy jacket or some shit.
Yeah, it was a puffer bubble jacket with the red shirt, the red leather pants, the like red shoes, and like the black face mask covering his face. I've got that in my Amazon cart too. I'm gonna pull the trigger on one of them.
Yo, Kanye must have so many people just blowing smoke up his ass. Yeah, that shit is tight, man. Yo, that's fucking innovative, man. Like, what? Kanye, you look like a fucking idiot. You look like a fucking a licorice stick. That's what the fuck you look like.
Listen, I would never wear that shit, but the bubble jacket is hard as fuck. and the shoes he was wearing was hard as fuck too.
There's a reason why we all stopped wearing those stupid ass poofy ass jackets, right? Like they're not comfortable. They don't really keep you warm. They just look stupid. That's it.
It's not about being warm. It's about being in the section spitting on people. Who...
Why is it always?
That's a joke I told earlier.
It is. Before we were on air, so everybody's massively confused right now. Anyways,
wait, we weren't on air when I told that first joke.
I don't believe so. But,
shit, you guys missed it.
I Know What You Did Last Summer is also coming out. So yeah, it's look, I'm feeling it. I'm feeling scary. I want to go back and watch. This whole month I want to watch a lot of scary movies. For some reason, I feel like I'm less scared of scary movies than I used to be. Like my trajectory went like the height of my scaredness was like my 20s of scary movies. When I was young, wasn't really that scared of scary movies. Got a little older and I was like terrified. Now it's kind of coming back down where I'm like, they're not a big deal, dude. I can watch this and kind of enjoy it. Like I want to watch some Nightmare on Elm Street or Jason and all that. And all that stuff isn't really like that scary, especially when you get to like all the sequels and shit. But yeah, I feel like I'm getting back into scary movies a little bit. I feel like it's coming back.
When I was younger, I used to love scary movies. Yeah. Jason Voorhees and Michael Myers and Freddy Krueger and Pinhead and all of that shit. Chucky. I used to love scary movies. And then at a certain point, I just like kind of fell out of it, right? And like, like when you get older, different shit starts to scare you. Like, yo, my 401k is not where it should be. How am I going to get ready for retirement? I'm like 5 years behind. That's the shit that scares me. I want to
stay with the joke, but you're still scared of scary movies, so I don't think we should discount this.
I don't have a taste for it.
Yeah, meaning that you're scared of it.
That's really what it comes down to.
You've described in no uncertain terms how sweaty you get every time you have to watch a Conjuring movie.
Sure, yeah. I mean, like Insidious and The Conjuring, like I don't have a taste for it. It makes me uncomfortable. Like I'm just like, it's more uncomfortable than it is scary. I just don't like that shit. I'm like, okay. I've got other shit to worry about.
All right. Well, in any case, I'm looking forward to this this Halloween season. I'm definitely going to take it.
This movie looks great.
All the, but yeah. Anyways, I Know What You Did Last Summer is coming out as well, which is a reboot or remake, whatever you want to call it. It's probably going to suck. Look. In other news, we get Chappelle's last special. I know you watched it. Last special for Netflix, at least. He came out with like a little trailer for it. Had Morgan Freeman. It was actually pretty funny. Or at least moderately funny. I haven't watched the special myself yet. Your quick thoughts without giving too much away. Go.
Ooh, listen. One of the repeat themes that I think is a comment that he kept saying throughout the special is like, we're going all the way. And I think that is what he did with this special. What do you have to lose when you've made it clear that this is going to be your last special for a long time, if not like ever, a special of this stature? So you have no reason to hold back, and he did not hold back in this special. All of the people who came at him, he went at them, but in a very Dave Chappelle way, where it's like it's very human. It's very even if you don't agree with it, like you have to like understand it, respect it, or at least acknowledge the fact that like, his perspective is his own. He's a comedian. Mm-hmm. He does what he does. He's at the highest of, the pecking order when it comes to comedy. He did not disappoint in this special. I want to watch. I literally just finished watching it. I want to watch it again. It was that good.
Cool. Yeah, I'll definitely have to check it out. So what I figure is this is probably not his last special ever, but this is probably the last one in his deal with Netflix. And so he's just probably like angling to like kind of have the bidding war going on like he did when he first signed with Netflix, right? Where everybody's sort of vying for him. He's going to become a free agent. So he's like, look, I'm going to make this my last one, and we'll see if when I come back, what the market looks like. And if he's on
the Buccaneers, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers probably want to sign him. Like, they're like, yo, listen, like, they had him who else can we bring in?
Yeah, they definitely.
We'll bring in everyone. I'm sure. I wouldn't be surprised if Tom Brady called him. Like, hey, like, can you play?
Yeah, and he said, "No, fuck you. You support Trump." So, but yeah. Anyways, so I'm looking forward to watching that. Look, we were going to talk about this whole Grey's Anatomy, Ellen Pompeo thing.
Fuck that.
Yeah, I don't really think we need to revisit that. You know what? Although I will say this, from the articles, they really are trying to make it seem like Ellen Pompeo might be a little racist. Right? Like with these articles.
Yeah, so like apparently she was uncomfortable with
sense.
Isaiah Washington being her love interest.
Here's they don't. What you have to do is read the article in order to understand why she was uncomfortable with Isaiah Washington. Did you do this?
So yeah, so like at the time, apparently she was like dating a man who was like
not dating, married to.
Was she engaged?
Currently still
married to.
Yeah.
Okay, so she was dating or she's married to a black man, and I feel like she may have felt like they were trying to play up her, like, oh, Ellen Pompeo only dates black men,
but it wasn't just
hates
her.
white men or something like that.
It wasn't just her. It was her husband who actually was uncomfortable with it. Now she might have been uncomfortable with it too. I forget from the articles that I read, but it was certainly her husband who kind of took exception to. Now, why her husband would take exception to her dating another black dude in a series, I don't know. That seems like a bit of a.
It's probably because you feel a greater threat. It's like, like let's say you're a black guy and you're like dating a white girl or whatever, and like you're at the bar and you like step away for a second and you see some other white guy talking to your girlfriend. You're like, man, I'll fuck him up. I'm not even worried about that. I don't feel no threat. Go ahead, man, shoot your shot. I'm gonna shoot that down. But you see like another black guy talking to your girl. It's like, what? Man, this dude might have some game, because I know I got some game. His brother might have some game too. Let me go here and intercept. It was probably one of those things. But either way,
seems weird, but yeah,
it was an interesting series of events, because it was like the whole thing released about her and Isaiah Washington, then the whole thing released about her and her feud with Denzel Washington. Sorry, no, Isaiah Thomas. Was that Isaiah Thomas? Was Isaiah Washington?
Isaiah Washington. Unless he played for the Pistons. Yeah. So it's Isaiah Washington. Then it was Denzel Washington. Maybe she just doesn't like guys whose last name is Washington. Maybe. That might be that might be a thing. But look, we don't need to dwell on that. I don't think that's really terribly relevant. Yeah, I think we just solved the mystery. I think that's the Scooby-Doo mystery. She just doesn't like anybody named Washington. There you go. We got ahead of it. Look, Charlie Sheen is in the news because he no longer has to pay child support to Denise Richards. Look, I don't know what their setup is, but I'm like, break it down for me. Is child support set up based off of the percentage of what both parents make? Like, so for instance, if one parent is making, like, say it's a man and woman, right? And the woman is making a grossly far more. What am I trying to say? She's making more money than the dude. Does he still have to pay child support for the child? So it all depends on state laws. There's not like a national statute, right? Okay, so like, let's say in one state, it could be like the custodial parent, meaning the parent who like has custody of the kids. They have custody, and like then the court assesses the non-custodial parents' income, and then you have to pay like a certain percentage of your income to the custodial parent, right? And in other states, they look at like, all right, we're going to take both parents' incomes, we're going to put them together, and it's like, all right, one parent makes 40% of the money, and the other parent makes 60% of the combined money. So then we'll like, take 40% of the child's expenses, you got to pay for that, and then 60% of the child's expenses, you got to pay for that, right? In Charlie Sheen's case, he was paying, I believe his total payment was like $300,000 a year for over the past 10 years, right? Bro, listen, I don't even know what that math is right now, but he was paying a bag, like a super $300,000 a year. Now, granted, he was making a lot of money, right? But still, do these motherfuckers need $300,000 a year to get like pizza Thursdays at school, where the school provides the lunch? Now, granted, these rich kids probably eat like all organic, gluten-free, non-GMO, fucking farm-raised shit. But so the reason I brought this story up was because, like, obviously Charlie Sheen, Denise Richards, they've got this whole like Hollywood relationship. Both of them, or at least one of them, is an accomplished movie star. I think Denise Richards was back in the day. Anyway, what's interesting about this is like, so Denise Richards is she was on set out of state filming a movie. I don't know why she's filming a movie. She's not that good of an actress. But Jesus. He filed the papers, and this is like some sly shit. He filed the papers when he knew pushing the date. Yeah. Well, so he knew she was going to be out of state
on set of a movie shoot and like wouldn't be able to make it back in time for the court date, right? So the court date was had without her knowledge. And in any case, whenever you fail to appear in court, the court will rule on the side of the party who does appear, right? So it was like Charlie Sheen and his lawyers were present in court, Denise Richards wasn't, and then the judge essentially ruled in his favor, like, you no longer have to pay child support to Denise Richards, right? So like everybody's all upset about this, but at the same time, she's got one kid who's about to turn 18, the other kid who's about to turn 17. He's been paying $300K a year for like 15 years. I don't feel bad for Denise Richards. That's fucking bread. Hope she saved her money. I just thought this was an interesting story. Sly Dog, Charlie Sheen, good for you.
Yeah, it's really interesting because it's like, well, I'm pretty sure Denise Richards, like, she's not hurting for money herself, right? And
no,
and I guess you have to do it all in perspective, right? Like if one parent isn't involved as much in the children's life, then you would think that, like, if I'm raising the kid, right? Then of course, yeah, you need to owe me something, even if I am making a decent amount. You got to contribute some shit here, right? But in this case, it's kind of weird because, from what I understand, Charlie Sheen, like, the kids,
he's had custody of the kids.
Yeah, he's had custody of the kids, but it's only because he's kind of a shit dad. Like, it's because he doesn't really, like, have any rules, or like really doesn't give a shit about, like, I don't know, like, setting a structure for the kids. So, of course, the kids, being teenagers, they're like, yeah, fuck, I want to go live at the house with no rules. What the fuck do we look like? Suckers, And so it's like Denise Richards is being kind of punished. Not being punished. She's not getting $300,000 a month. Like, it's a month, right? Or a year?
Yearly. But I think, what is that? Yeah. What is 300,000 a month? It's like 25.
Too much money. Either way, too much. At least more than my feeble brain can and pockets can understand at this exact moment in time. But it's kind of like, it's all based off technicalities. Like, okay, the fact that she wasn't there, the fact that she didn't file any sort of like countering motions or whatever the fuck they call it, and the fact that the kids want to go live with Charlie. It's kind of all technicalities, right? Because the kids don't want to go live with Charlie because they think, oh my God, he's the better for me and he's going to put me on the right path. No, they just want to go live with him so they can party and do shit that she won't let them do, right? I don't know. Weird situation, but yeah, that was in the news today. Anyways, look, let's get to what the fuck we came here to talk about. Squid Games, okay? Let's talk about Squid Games real quick, okay? Sensation has taken the world by storm, okay? Yet another Netflix series that came out of nowhere.
Yo,
look, I heard they're working on a Tiger King Part 2 that's gonna come out. Tiger King came out of nowhere during the pandemic. Fucking Squid Games comes out of nowhere.
What is Netflix doing that Hulu is not doing? No. Quibi is somewhere like
Quibi. Hulu's had its own hits, right? Like, they got Handmaid's Tale. They're not hurting over there for content.
Listen, unless it's Handjob's Tale on Pornhub, I don't give a fuck. Okay, it's not as good as Squid Games.
You've never watched Handmaid's Tale?
I watched 3 episodes and I was like, yo, fuck this. Never watch it again. I'm done with that shit. It was boring as fuck.
I'm sorry. Excuse me?
Yeah, listen. What is it called again? Handmaid's Tale? Yeah. Listen, I gave it a try. I think I watched 3 or 4 episodes.
Did you just say that Handmaid's Tale was boring?
Boring as fuck, yeah.
Of all the things that you could describe Handmaid's Tale as, you choose to use the word.
And listen, I'll give it to you. Maybe I didn't get to the fun part, but after like 3 or 4 episodes,
part? It's fucking Handmaid's Tale. What fun? What?
Yeah, that sounds boring.
Wait, what sounds boring? Like, can you describe to me what you think Handmaid's Tale is?
So again, I saw 3 or 4 episodes of the show. And
describe to me what you think the show's about. Describe to me.
I'll be honest, right? Like, it is difficult for any person to like describe or explain a show.
It's not.
I could in 4 episodes.
What you saw,
you haven't even grasped the full story.
You've watched a certain amount of it, and you get a sense of what the show, at least the base layer of what the show's about, right? Like there were things happening on screen. There were
Sure, yeah. I mean,
unfolding. All you have to do is just say a quick summary of what you think the show's about. Forget what the show's actually about. What do you think the show's about?
It is like this this point in time in which like there's been like some type of virus or disease or flu or war that has caused like women to no longer be able to like conceive children. The rich have risen to power. There's been this huge shift in like the political and social and economic construct in which women have essentially been stripped of their rights and like been made to essentially be vessels of like bearing children for the rich and the famous, because like men are infertile, right? So it is this like suppressive state for women, in which like women are essentially made out to be slaves. And then these factions of women are essentially trying to like escape this, this slavery and regain power. Right. Similar to the premise of the show was kind of based on like American slavery in itself.
Fair enough. But from what you just described, though, how do you find that in the first 4 episodes? Because I would argue that some of the later seasons, it gets a little bit like repetitive in terms of some of the things that they sort of get into, and they kind of stretch the story out longer than they probably need to. But if you're 4 episodes in, the last thing I could call The Handmaid's Tale is. That's insane. What do you want to have happen on the screen that you're saying The Handmaid's Tale within the first 4 episodes is boring? I will never not find that fascinating that you chose to use boring to describe.
It is because in those first 4 episodes, so I'm recalling how I felt, right? Again, sure. I watched it, I gave it an honest try, and I remember I was watching it I think I was watching it like with my girlfriend. This was during the pandemic. So it's like, all right, let's start a show together. Let's watch it episode by episode, and like let's like, kind of like talk about it in the way that you'd watch Thrones, right? And I just remember in those first 4 episodes, I'm just like, this is boring as fuck. Like it's not compelling, it's not interesting. I haven't been like sold or bought into any of the characters. I haven't been sold on the storyline, and I did read up about the show before I even started watching it. I mean, even my girlfriend was like, yeah, it's kind of fucking boring, but like I think she kept up with it through season 1, and then even she was like, yeah, this shit is boring, let's watch something else. UK Love Island. Jesus. I'm just kidding. We didn't watch UK Love Island. No, we came into UK Love Island way afterwards. I'm sorry, but the shit was just it was boring.
Okay. All right. Sure.
Sorry. Why not? If they would have casted James Spader, it might have been more interesting.
Okay. I don't even have the energy to even fight back against this. Okay. Squid Games. All right. Look, we talked before about Bond, right? And we talked about how different movies or Bond was set up to sort of coincide with its time, right? I believe that Squid Games is exactly the movie that we need, or the show rather, that we need in exactly the right time that we need it in, right? Look, we're going to talk about a story here in a bit that deals with workers, and specifically workers in the film and television world who are like, look, motherfuckers, we're not going to work anymore if you're not going to fucking treat us fairly, right? What is, working, right? You get paid to do some sort of task, right? You get paid for your labor, right? Your time, essentially, right? To complete some sort of task or some sort of service, right? And what that's built on, at least especially here in America, if not the whole world, is capitalism, right? Is basically a system that's set up to support people who already have, whether it's money or whether it's some sort of resource or whatever the case is, right? It's built for them basically to exploit everybody else, right? And that's what everybody's rising up against, or at least slowly but surely trying to rise up against right now, right? Fuck these people who are going to pay me shit for doing this fucking hard ass labor, and expect me to accept whatever the fuck crumbs that they give me. Fuck all of that shit. Squid Games is the perfect show for this exact moment, because it's a show that sometimes almost comically displays. It's like an example of what happens when you have this system that's set up for people to automatically fail, right? The system's not made for people to succeed in. It's made for people to specifically fail in, right? And I believe that Squid Games does that to a T. When I asked you to explain it, I don't know if I listened incorrectly or if you just explained it in the worst possible way. But I thought it was like an actual game show from what you were describing. I was very confused. Is it a real game show or just like a game show within a fake universe? And I couldn't discern that from what you were saying. But after watching at least a few episodes, I'm only on episode like 4 right now. Squid Games is fucking fantastic, dude. It's a fucking dope show. I love it. Anyways, I've been talking for a while. You speak.
So Squid Games, I mean, I love the story behind it. Let's start there, right? So the creator of Squid Games is a man by the name of Hwan Dong-hyuk, and so he came in, and I'll read from the article here, right? So the Wall Street Journal reports that series creator Hwan Dong-hyuk first came into the premise a decade ago while he was living with his mother and grandmother in Korea. At the time, he was essentially like dead broke. He had he had no money. He had to sell the very laptop in which he was writing the show on for $675 in order to like make enough money to like feed himself and pay his bills and so on and so on. So like this guy was like, kind of like a Tyler Perry story, right? He was literally down to his last dollar, holding on to this gem of an idea that would eventually become what is on pace to be Netflix's biggest series ever. And he believes so much in this story, in this show, in this idea that he did not give up. You fast forward a couple of years later, ultimately 2 years ago is when Netflix decided to basically invest in the show and acquire the rights to it, and publish and produce the show. Again, now it's on pace to be Netflix's biggest show ever. And Netflix is like, over the course they've been investing a lot of Korean content. If you scroll through Netflix at any point in time, whether it's Squid Games, there's another show. It's not Heist. There's another show very similar to Squid Games. It's not coming to mind right now. I'll remember it eventually, but like they're investing over $500 million over the course of the next few years into like Korean-based content, and goddamn, did they hit a gem with Squid Games. Very interesting show. It's one of those shows that, what's interesting about this, it has all the bloody, gory, violent brutality, right? That you want to see, people getting shot, people getting heads chopped off, people falling off of really high shit and breaking every bone in their body. But it manages to tell like a really deep story in the midst of it all, right? About whether it's like money, whether it's greed, whether it's relationships, whether it's about like loss and gains and suffering. And it has like this emotional draw. You fall in love with the characters and the story amidst all the brutality. I hesitated on the show for a while, but goddamn, am I happy I watched it, and I hope there's more to come from this show.
Yeah. So I'm curious to do like, what is and if you do me a favor, move to your right a bit. If you could slide your frame. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
And so what is your overall assessment of the show? Like, all right, besides like the bloody and just gory, like this thing is just merciless with it's almost like watching one movie we watched Extraction, right, where it's just people just dropping like flies left and right. Life seemed very not precious in Extraction. I would argue it's the same in Squid Games, where and honestly I kind of think that mimics life, right? And that sort of the idea behind it is that life is not terribly treated preciously in reality, if you really stand back and like look at it. Like, yeah, sure, maybe on like a person to person basis it's treated very preciously sometimes, but in the social fabric of and speaking specifically, and this is a Korean film, right, or show, right, but I think it definitely speaks to what's happening here in America as well, in terms of just like the way the systems are set up. The system does not give a fuck about people. Like, that's the last thing that this economic system cares about is people. But anyways, besides the gory aspect of it, like what are the themes that you picked up on that made you fuck with the show, or make you sort of care for the show as you do?
So like, while there is a element of capitalism behind this all, right? Like the rich preying on the poor, not really giving a fuck about the poor, and taking humor in seeing people less fortunate kind of like grovel for bits, pieces, and scraps, right? Like you look at, the Jeff Bezoses and the Mark Zuckerbergs and the Elon Musks. You think like these are the types of, and the Walton family who like owns Walmart. You think like these are the type of people who would like, be the benefactors behind something like a Squid Game, right? While that's very true, I think one of the things that this show highlighted, particularly with the gentleman who played participant number one, who was essentially behind the entire Squid Games, is you couldn't ignore the fact that he spoke about how everyone who participated in these games was there by choice, right? These people had fallen into debt all by their own choice. No one forced them into debt. No one put them into debt or poverty. These were people who had opportunity, just like everybody else, who time and time again made the wrong decisions, which ultimately got them into debt, whether it was gambling, whether it was like, betting too much, whether it was taking on too much risk, or taking on a debt that was far greater than what you could repay, and so on and so on, right? It was all choice based. And even when character number one, at the point in the game where they're all voted and they voted to end the game, most of those people, how many people came back? Was it like 100 people or 87 people or something like that, decided to re-enter the Squid Game at this chance to win the money, further compounding the fact that like these people like have made bad decision after bad decision after bad decision. And should you feel sorry for them? Yes, but at the same time, no. And I think the larger scope of that, when you apply it to like our everyday lives, is like when you look at people who make $80,000 a year but spend 90, it's like, how much sympathy should you have for these people, or should you have empathy for them, or should you just acknowledge that like people make their own choices, people make bad choices, and they got to live with those, they got to pay the consequences of those.
Yeah. So that's interesting that's what you take out of it, because I think a lot of people have different perspectives in terms of things like this. And while I think you definitely do have like a point, right? Of that it was based off of people's choices, but at least, and I'm not done the series yet, but one of the things that's very apparent to me is the idea of,
I'm sorry, I ruined it for you.
No, it's fine. I kind of already knew that's where it was going.
Okay.
But one of the things that's very apparent to me is it's the idea of what is a choice, right? So for instance, you were saying like people who get into debt, who spend beyond their means. While that's definitely like people gamble, right? Like that was definitely something that was prevalent in the show, clearly, right? But what was also prevalent in the story, at least from what I watched so far, is and I forget the person's name. He's from oh man, fuck. I think I'm pretty sure he's Indian. I forget his name. I'm trying to like look it up, but I can't figure it out from I think it's Ali. I think I want to say it was, but they showed him, and
his name is Rama Valyuri.
No, I don't.
He played Ali.
No, I don't think that's the same person.
I'm on IMDb. It says it is.
No, it doesn't say it just says additional voices.
You know what? You're right. Fucking IMDb.
So anyways, so he basically went to work, right? And his boss was basically just like, yeah, I'm not going to pay you, right? And he's like, motherfucker, I worked pretty fucking hard. You deserve to pay me, or I deserve to be paid. We all deserve to be paid. And the boss has like money, but he's clearly not, giving it to the rest of them. So I feel like what they're sort of trying to highlight is that it's both, right? You can have people who grossly overspend, but even the people who grossly like overspend, you could argue that society's basically kind of, it's like a trap, they say, when we use the trap as far as, in per Urban Dictionary, that's what it is. It's a trap. It's something for you to get caught into, and I feel like that's what society is in a way. So think about this, right? We talk about debt, we talk about all this, right? But what of the people who they got into debt when they were fucking like 21, 22, right? And just have never been able, people who have student loan debt, right? Who just have this
Yeah.
massive amount of student loan debt. At that young of an age, they don't, for one, they don't teach you like the basic economics of like, you know, of how you should sort of like manage your life. They teach you math, right? But not like the actual practicality behind it, right? They'll teach you calculus before they teach you how to, you know, balance your fucking banking ledger, you know, or your account ledger, right? As well as like, okay, well, what if you get into medical debt, right? Which is what the song oh man, I'm gonna mess his name up, but he was played by Lee Jong Jae, I believe, sort of the main protagonist throughout the whole thing.
Sung Ji Han.
There you go, Song Ji Han. So his mother, you know, she had diabetes, you know. And so what if you get into this massive medical debt now? What do you do with that? That's not.
But at the same time, he also had gambling debt that he owed money to loan sharks.
But I'm not
I see your point is like,
yeah,
debt is not just like, oh, like you got yourself into it. Sometimes it's medical. Sometimes you're just born into poverty, and like the nature of like your life, like being born into like a low income area, you know, you may make $1,000 a month, but your expenses are $1,500 just based off of cost of living and inflation. So yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, and again, it's sort of like a trap. Like, so even like the gambling aspect of it, right? Like you could argue that yes, it's, you know, it's a bit, you've made the choice to do this, right? But what if somebody is already born without money, and like we see this all the time with like the lottery, right? Where it's people spend and spend and spend on this lottery because they think that that's the thing that's going to carry them out of the situation that they're in, out of this sort of poverty state, right? But it's because it's like this magic ticket, right? It's like fucking like Willy Wonka, find the golden ticket, right? If you find the golden ticket, then you can carry yourself out of whatever shitty situation that you're in. Okay, well, if you want to go to school, all right, you spend a shit ton of money to go to school, end up in fucking all this debt, and you're just waiting for the next 40 years to pay off this debt before you really start, you know, garnering the benefits of this you know, degree that you have, or degrees, whatever, you know, if you've been in school for X amount of years. So all I'm trying to say is that this Squid Games, it's a perfect sort of like analogy for what society is. It's a mixture of all things. It's not just people making poor decisions. It's a system that's set up specifically designed for you to fail and for you to be in debt, but you do have to be a person within that system to be at least, you know, aware of what's going on enough to keep yourself out of it. But it's extremely hard to do because the traps are all over the place. Look, you know, you just had a little boogie board accident, right? What if during that period you didn't have, you know, medical coverage, you know, during that period? That would have been a fucking disaster, you know, for you to end up in. And there, how many people does that happen to? Especially when we tie, especially here in America, where we tie our healthcare to employment, right? So if you're not employed or you're self-employed or whatever the case is, well, now you're fucked, right? Now that situation that was hard is so much more harder because you're not going along. You're not, you know, you're not working for that system, so to speak, at least directly. Sorry. You were going to say something.
No. I think you made a great point. And one of the other things that I'll say to just like not necessarily further my point, but also like acknowledge yours is the fact that like there was an interesting point in the series in which player one, and I think you're past this point, so I'm not spoiling anything for you. Player one, all the players get together and they vote to end the game, right? And player one is the deciding factor. He votes. He hits the red button. He ultimately decides to end the game as well. And it is in that moment in which not only do the people there choose to be there, like they got the card, they called the number, they came to the game, right? But he let them all go. And then after that, he gave them all, there's the opportunity for some to stay. There's the opportunity for some to come back. I think that is the point in which not necessarily that you like lose sympathy for the people who returned, but it's like you understand how some people choose, like not everybody returned. Some people choose like, all right, you know what, I made a bad decision. Now I'm gonna like correct my bad decision. Or like, you know, I was born into a bad situation, but like let me find my way out of this bad situation by making smarter choices. And some people will just double down on the bad decisions, like, damn, you know, I got rent due, and you know, I've got $1,000 for my rent money, and I'm going to go to the casino. I'm going to try and double this $1,000, right? And then they'll lose $500, and it's like, fuck, I only have 500 left. I need 500 more to pay rent, so I'm going to gamble the other 500, and then they lose that 500. Now they don't have any rent money at all, right? And then it's like, well, now I got to keep making more bad decisions. I got to borrow money from a loan shark, or I got to max my credit cards. I got to do all these things. So while yes. In real life, it's very true that like some people are born into bad situations, or some people are burdened by situations that they didn't create for themselves, like medical bills, or unfair systems like student loans or predatory banking. But there are a lot of people who like put themselves in these situations and continue to double down on them. And that is what like the Squid Games preyed on. The people who like, you made a bad decision, you ended up here by that bad decision. We tried to let you go. You came back because
but I think that's the point that
failed to continue to make good decisions.
Right, but that's the point that I think I'm saying, like, that you're kind of missing is that it calls into question, what is the choice, right? Is that an actual choice, right? If you have to decide, like, so for instance, Song Jian, right? He almost can't not make this decision because he either has to stop seeing his kid, right? Because the husband for his, I guess, ex-wife or whoever was like, look, I'll give you this money, but you have to leave us the fuck alone, and you can never talk to your daughter again. And he's like, no, that's not a fucking deal. I'm not talking to my daughter ever again. But he's got a mother who is dying from diabetes in the hospital. And what does he do? Where does he go to liberate himself from that situation that's happening right at that moment? That sure, he can work for the next 5-6 years, build his credit back up, and do all this, do all that, but he needs the money right now for his mother in order to live. What does he do? So what it does is it forces him to put his life, what's more valuable, his life or money? And I think that that's sort of the overarching, at least so far as I'm watching the series, that's the overarching question, right? What's more valuable, money or and how that whole scenario is being controlled by people, right? That it's
there's a thing that you're missing here. I think it's only because you haven't seen enough of the show, where it's like that situation
you can
there.
Go ahead, you can go ahead and talk about it again.
Okay.
Like I already sort of know.
Yeah. So part of the reason why Song Ji-hun's mother is like in this dire situation in the hospital with diabetes is also because he terminated their like health insurance, right? In order to keep more money, which he ultimately ended up gambling anyway, right? So it's like, you know, your mother's having to like deal and self-treat her diabetes because you canceled the health insurance because you wanted more money to gamble, which and in gambling that money you ultimately lost it, which is why now you need more money to pay for her medical bills, which not necessarily like he didn't cause her diabetes, but he's the reason why she didn't have the medical coverage that she needed, right? So now you got to double down on the bad decisions that you make. Like again, like you lose the rent money, so now you have to gamble more of the rent money or like borrow money. So it's like you put yourself in a bad situation.
Right, but
continue
again,
to put yourself in bad situations.
Right, but again, like I keep coming back, and we can wrap this up. But I keep coming back to the same scenario, which is the situation at hand isn't that people make poor decisions, right? Because that's evident. People will make poor decisions, right? If given the option, some people will make good decisions, some people will make very poor decisions, right? That's not, but I'm saying that that's the false question that's being thrown up in our faces, as because that in reality, like that's what we're posed with, right? Oh, life's just all about making correct decisions and making right choices, and then you'll be treated properly. Therefore, what I'm saying is that whole question is bullshit, because in reality, there should be mechanisms in place where somebody, like, so for instance, say like healthcare, right? healthcare should be universal, right? Like why is it that he has to why is it that he has to separately pay for healthcare coverage, right? Than to just have it, right? It should be a human right to have healthcare. It should, if somebody's dying, it shouldn't be like, well, I mean, are you did you make your
no, that's true.
right? Like
that's
that
true.
shouldn't be the case, right? And so I'm saying the whole question of we keep saying within the system we're making right and wrong decisions, but the entire fucking thing is corrupted, right? Where even sometimes when you do make the correct decision, when you've done everything correctly, you find yourself in this massive amount of debt that you had no control over, right? Sure, there's people who just wander their way into it because they just wandered their way into it. That I'm not pulling into question. But what I'm saying is the entire fucking thing should be called into question about how we have shit set up from the start. And I feel like that's what the wool over the eyes is that it's making us think, because the Merovingian said this in The Matrix Reloaded, and it always kind of stuck with me, but it's not until more recently that it really started to reoccur with me, which is choice is just an illusion created by those with power posed upon those without. And that, I feel like that's one of the truest statements ever, that choice, we look at choice as like this thing where we have to choose between these two things, where really the question itself is a false, it's not a false dichotomy, that's not the word I'm trying to look for, but it's the inherent question itself is false in that situation where we have to choose between one of these two things. I feel like that's not, like, as human beings we should have things like fucking like healthcare or mechanisms to be put into place where we don't automatically go into debt upon graduating from college because because the job market needs you to have a degree, so therefore you have to go get the degree, put yourself into debt. Anyways, I was going to go on, but I can talk for a while.
Isn't that the scene before he put Quaaludes in that woman's cake?
Well, proving his point, right?
Choice is the illusion. I guess so. I guess that did prove his point. But is being drugged not, like, is that an illusion, or is that just like being drugged? But anyway, also, great pull, because you remembered his fucking name. I didn't remember his name at all.
Well, I just recently watched the Matrix, like,
okay, good. I was like, damn, you fucking remembered his name. That's sharp as shit. But good for you. That was good.
But I think that's like what my main point is, and why I like the series so much, is because while it does offer you like people making very, very poor decisions, and like to the point where you're just like, fuck, dude, just stop, right? Even with the first episode, it just, every decision that he makes in an episode is just incorrect, right? But I feel like with the central point that it's trying to say is that him making all these poor decisions is the result of like more than just him making poor decisions. It's the result of a system that's pushing him basically with all of its effort to make these poor decisions, and then the system afterwards says, look at you made all these poor decisions, now you have to feel shitty about yourself because you've made every poor decision, when really the system's actually set up for him to make these poor decisions and for him to end up in this fucking hamster wheel where he can never really get out of,
No, that's true, and I'll end with this. Then we got some great trailers to jump into really quickly. Yeah. I think the reality of life is that it's like a balance of both, right? It's like the system is corrupt, and do you allow the system to control like your outcome, or do you like take ownership of your life? Right? It's like, I was born into a bad situation. I may have made some bad choices, but like, there is like a final decision, right? It's just I can choose to, I'm in the Squid Game, but I can choose to go home and stay home, or I can go back and continue to make the bad decisions that I've had a pattern of making in my life. And I think that is what like a lot of the characters in this show, like that's what they're ultimately faced with, is like, all right, I got myself here. Do I stay here, or do I find my way out of here without compromising my life and my loved ones in the process? But keep watching the show, man. It is great. I think you're gonna discover new things about the show and the characters. In the meantime, I mean, I really loved everything I got from the show, and I hope I see more.
Yeah, for sure, man.
I want to find out how this thing really started. So I hope like that we may get some like before story, we may get some after story, because like this can't be the end of it, based off of what you're gonna find in the ending. I'm sorry to ruin that for you, but if you
it's
haven't
fine.
watched Squid Games on Netflix, I highly recommend it. It's just fun. It's one of those fun shows that like people catch on to, and you can't turn away from it.
Fun is an explosive term when it comes to Squid Games. I don't know if it's fun so much as just a really interesting show that throws a lot of different things at you with each episode. Honestly, with each episode, I feel like we're dealing with a different sort of philosophical situation. And it forces you to, at least for me, it forced me to think about things, about how there's like parallels between this and just our own reality in terms of capitalism and all that jazz and shit. But
definitely. But we are gonna so we got some great trailers coming up here. But before we jump into these trailers, I need to take 1 minute.
Yeah, we'll be right back, folks. Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, hit that share button, share the shit with anybody and everybody. Look, we need to be bigger than what we are now, all right? We're the fucking Fade Podcast, all right? We give you the shit straight from the hip. Straight from the hip. I don't know what the fuck I'm trying to say with that. But yeah. Go ahead and share the stream. We're live every Wednesday, usually by about 7:45 ish. We usually get on air, if not maybe a bit sooner. But yeah, share the podcast with everybody. We've been at this for quite some time now. So yeah, we appreciate the support. We love the people who stuck with the show, and we appreciate you. Keep it rolling. Keep it rolling with us. And also talk to us about what you're watching right now. What's on your radar right now? I was going to talk about it at the beginning of the show, but we just didn't have the time to cover it. But I've been really getting into anime recently. And it was one of those things that I felt like kind of passed me by, and I just never really got into. Like, look, huge fan of Dragon Ball Z, but is that real anime? One could argue, maybe. And I guess shouldn't be gatekeepers, right? Of like what's real anime, but I feel like Dragon Ball Z is like the beginners entry level of anime, very surface level shit. But I've just been recently like curious. Like I went back and I watched Akira recently. I've watched Ghost in a Shell recently. I've watched. I'm right now in the middle of watching Cowboy Bebop, which is really fucking interesting, dude. It's a really interesting show, and I really do appreciate it for what it's worth. But who else is an anime fan out there? Or were you a early entry into anime? Were you a late bloomer when it comes to anime? Talk to me. Let me know. Put it in the comment section. Put it in the chat. Do what you gotta fucking do. But I just know I've been really enjoying anime, and it's really forced me to like kind of step out of my comfort zone. Because for the longest time, like a few of my friends, they used to watch like Naruto and all that stuff, and I was never really into that. But now I'm kind of deciding to change that up a bit. So yeah, talk to me. Let me know if you guys are into anime a little bit. What's your favorite anime? That's a really interesting question. What's your favorite anime? What are you into? What do you watch? I'm trying to line up my next project outside of Cowboy Bebop. Because Cowboy Bebop's not that long. It's precisely one season long. And it's like 26 episodes. And I don't know, I don't know, how long exactly, it's going to take me to kind of like run through that. So Rain's back in the building. Rain, I was just talking about anime and how I'm randomly getting into anime now, where I used to not be a fan.
This is going to be the greatest time of your life.
Pull the mic a little closer to you, or get a little closer. There you go.
Yeah. What are you watching right now?
Okay, so I just got done and I just talked to everybody about this, but I watched Akira, right? I, I
Good
watched
for you.
Ghost in the Shell, um, and then I'm right now on Cowboy Bebop. Is what I'm on. Never watched Cowboy Bebop before, so now I'm getting into it, dude. I fucking love. Yo, this intro song is fucking amazing. 1, 2, 3.
So
Let's go.
Cowboy Bebop is known as being like the anime with arguably the greatest soundtrack
Yeah,
of all
this
time.
joint is
So
fire. What the fuck?
so not just the intro music, but the soundtrack.
The
Like
jazz.
so,
Yeah.
oh yeah, it's jazz. It's like this like
Smooth.
upbeat techno jazz hip hop. Listen to, I think they have a station on YouTube, or like Apple Music, and it's just great like work music. Like if you're just like if you're getting some work done, if you're in the lab, if you're cooking up, if you're in my case sending emails, whatever you're doing for work, you put on that soundtrack. It's gonna jazz you up. It's fun. It's great. It's electric. It fits the show perfectly. Netflix is producing the Cowboy Bebop live action movie.
Yeah. I saw.
And not fucking wait for that.
Should it be a movie or should it be a show?
I think.
And also,
if you do it,
who's the dude that we've got playing? Fuck, what's his name? I could tell you here in a sec.
I should know, but I finished the series so long ago. So he's playing Spike.
No, I know he's playing Spike. I'm saying like the dude who's playing him, who's old as fuck. But even Spike's supposed to be like mad young though.
Spike is a young guy. We got Vicious. We got Faye. I love Faye. We got Jet. I want to see who they cast as the dog, Faye's dog. Can't wait for that. So,
no, but in the live action, it's supposed to be, who's the deuce dude? Who played? He's in Harold and Kumar. Who played Harold, I believe.
John Cho, who plays
John
Spike.
Cho. Yeah. I'm saying John Cho is old as fuck to be playing Spike.
Is he that old?
Dude, he's old as fuck. What the fuck? He's like almost 50, I think, if not over 50.
Yeah, he was born in 1972. His IMDb picture is still when he was 18. So I guess that's why. But yeah, man. So like, anime is one of those. It's my favorite thing to watch. At any point in the day, if I'm home by myself and I don't have to watch what someone else wants to watch, the number one thing I put on is anime. It's there's so much great storytelling in anime, and like you see anime depicted in a lot of other like motion pictures. For example, I'm pretty sure Inception, a lot of the scenes you saw in Inception were from Akira. You remember the scene in which JGL, he's in like the hotel hallway, and the room is spinning? I'm pretty sure that scene was directly taken from Akira.
I'm trying to think of like what.
I'm not sure if you've gotten to it, but like if it wasn't Akira, it may have been like Attack on Titan, but it's definitely anime based. I mean, Kanye's.
I wouldn't doubt earlier. It looks very sort of. It gives those anime vibes. It's something that's just like a weird fucking like thing that they threw in there. Yes. So
Kanye's outfit for his album release party, which I said I might wear for Halloween, that was the main character of Akira. The all red jumpsuit with the puffer jacket, or in the anime he wore like a bomber jacket, but that was his outfit in Akira.
Was I asleep for half of Akira? What the fuck? Wait, who was
listen,
red bomber jacket?
It's the details. Here, let me
it's okay.
I may have to pull it up for you after the show. But so let me add a few great shows to your list.
Okay.
Once you finish Akira, 7 Deadly Sins.
Okay. 7
Deadly Sins. Yep. After 7 Deadly Sins, you have to. My all-time favorite. I have the DVD box set here. Like literally, I have it. So I have it in its own vacuum sealed Tupperware case. Like it's an air sealed case.
You still have DVDs.
Yeah, listen, I'm going to keep this thing for the rest of my life. When my daughter gets older and I can expose her to this type of violent, vulgar content, I want to watch it with her. Like that's how important it is to me. So Yu Yu Hakusho. You probably heard me talk about the show many times.
Sure.
It is, in my opinion, it's the greatest anime of all time. Next to DBZ, because like DBZ is just so great. But it is up there with Dragon Ball Z.
Does DBZ count as anime?
Yeah,
I feel like that's not like traditional anime though, right? It's got different vibes and different themes.
Yeah, I mean there are different types of anime, sure. Yeah, but it counts as anime. DBZ is anime. But I would highly.
I feel like it's like the beginners anime. That's what I said before.
Yeah, I would say my top 5 of all time, like the old school stuff: DBZ, Cowboy Bebop, Yu Yu Hakusho, Gundam Wing, and then I gotta go with like Big O.
I think Gundam Wing was one of the reasons why I could never really get into anime, because I would, after watching DBZ, I would watch Gundam Wing and just be bored out of my mind. I
mean the storytelling was so different, the art was so different. DBZ was like exciting, and Gundam Wing was more like storytelling. It was like it was but like we were too young to appreciate it. I feel like now if we were to watch Gundam Wing, we'd be like, okay, like there's like story here.
Did you like get back into it when you got older, or did you just kind of stay with it when you were young, even though you didn't like fully like understand everything that was going on?
Yeah, I mean, so like when I was younger, it was like Dragon Ball Z, and then it was like I remember it was I think the other show was like Top Cats. Remember those 2 cats who were like mechanics and they worked in the junkyard?
Yeah.
And then you remember that show?
I do. Yeah.
And then as I got older, like I remember I found Cyborg 007. And then I remember I found Big O. Which like resonated with me because my name is Arain, starts with the O. I was like, oh shit, Big O. And then like I remember. Yeah, I remember I named myself that on like MySpace, right? It was me and Tom at the beginning.
Throwbacks.
Right, and then when like the Facebook started, it was like me and Zuck, but I sold all my shares too early, and like here I am. Yeah, who's the other guy? Sergio. But anyway, so I feel like it's something that I liked early on, and then like over time I fell in love with. It wasn't until I found Yu Yu Hakusho that like I was like, this is it. Like this is like I'm an anime guy through and through.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely 7 Deadly Sins, Yu Yu Hakusho.
You're gonna love 7 Deadly Sins.
Yeah, for sure.
You're gonna love it.
I'll definitely check them out. On my newly acquired anime kick here. But in any event, let's press forward. We got some trailers to fucking watch here. So our first one here, we've got another Paranormal Activity. Talk about some spooky movies that Arain's probably going to be too scared to watch. We've got Paranormal Activity Next of Kin. Now, how many times they're going to fucking reboot Paranormal Activity? Who knows, right? We've had about 20 different iterations of pretty much the same story here. I'm not going to lie, though. Paranormal Activity 3 caused me not to sleep for quite some time. Very brief story. Me and my brother were sharing an apartment, right? And he had to go away for some sort of like basic training or something like that. So he was going to be gone for like a month or 2, right? And we watched this movie the night before he left. And so we watched this movie. He leaves like the next day. The next night, I'm in an apartment by myself. I developed the case where I couldn't sleep with open doors. And if anybody remembers Paranormal Activity 3, you've got the little scary-ass girls who walk into their parents' rooms and they just fucking sway back and forth for seemingly hours. One of the freakiest shit that spooked me to no fucking end, right? Couldn't sleep with closed doors until like, or without closed doors until like 2 months ago was when I finally kind of
2
got
months
over
ago.
it.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, but that's only because I got an alarm system, so it's like, all right, well, some shit's about to go off if a door opens.
You cannot see a ghost on a Ring doorbell.
Look, you can't tell my flawed logic that, okay?
Did you get the infrared ghost detection kit? Because that's an upgrade.
Yeah. I'm hoping that's one of the upgrades that Ring just kind of randomly threw in without me knowing was a thing. One of those extra benefits. You're like, oh shit, I had that.
You got to pay for that bundle. It's an extra $9.99 a month.
Fair enough. Anyways, back to Paranormal Activity Next of Kin. So this is being directed by William Eubank. Written by Christopher Landon, starring Emily Batter, Roland Buck III, Dan Lippert, and Henry Ayers Brown. This is due out right before Halloween, October 29th of this here year. Look, I would tell you the synopsis of the film, but apparently they don't want us to know what the fuck the synopsis is, but I'm guessing that's what the fuck the trailer is going to tell us here. So without further ado, Paranormal Activity, Next of Kin trailer. Let's do it.
All right, whenever you're ready.
We are shooting a documentary because I am about to meet my first biological relative.
She's Amish.
I'm not. I am not Amish.
We are humbled and grateful to have our sister Margot return to us.
I've always hoped that I could meet you all, so this is a really special moment for me.
Hey, mind if I film you for a moment? Hey.
I like your doll. What's her name?
Yeah.
You know, that was my mom's name. She used to live here a long time ago.
She's still here.
What did you say? Whoa. Why would they build a church all the way back here?
What is that?
The demon, Asmodeus, was trapped inside a chosen woman of God.
This has happened before.
What the hell? Are these from my mom? You can't have me and my baby?
I know every Amish family within a 50-mile area. They ain't Amish.
Jesus wird kommen, Jesus wird kommen, Christus schaut die ganze Erde. Jesus wird kommen, Jesus wird kommen, Christus schaut die ganze Erde.
Oh my God.
You sure about this?
I have to know.
Nope, I don't have to know that bad.
Jesus wird kommen, Jesus wird kommen, Christus schaut die ganze Erde.
Wolf.
Couldn't be me. Listen.
First of all, the Amish are just livid. If they watched movies, right, they would be pissed, right? I guess that's why they made this movie, because they're like, look, no Amish watches movies. So
We could offend a whole group of people that won't know.
I honestly, right? Do I have that right? The Amish don't watch films, I'm sure, right? Like,
Yeah, I think it's like no electricity and like modern technology. I don't know if like the Amish are on like Twitter or have Netflix.
Yeah.
I could be very wrong. Listen, I'm only speaking from like the hour layover I had in Salt Lake City. So like my experience was very.
Is that where all the Amish are?
Like
are
Utah,
those just Mormon?
yeah.
I think those are just Mormons.
Is it Mormons? Is there a difference? What's the difference?
Yeah, I think the Amish are. Please, anybody, feel free to correct me in the comment section. But
do they wear the little hats? Is that Amish or is that Mormon?
I don't know about the hats, but I do know there's more Amish. I think in PA, I want to say there's probably a lot more Amish, right? Unless I have that wrong. Yeah. So, anyways, they would be pissed if they knew this movie was coming out. But also, dude, that was the first.
Or they'd be like, that shit is spot on.
Yeah, well,
which would be even scarier.
Yeah, terrifying. That movie or that trailer was actually, and and seeing a couple of the snippets I saw, that was actually terrifying, dude. Like they put some shit in there. I was like, whoa, what are we doing here? That's too much, right? On top of that, whoever, side note for whoever their cinematographer was, whoever was in charge of the camera, That dude was on point. He had it in 24
Masterful.
frames per second. He had the fucking gimbals going, you know, so it just all looked real smooth, you know.
And he was
Always-
in the mix, like this. So, like, one of the things that Paranormal Activity, and I've never seen one fucking movie, but I've seen the trailers. One of the things that, like, I feel like they do well is, like, it is a very intimate, scary movie. It is not like capturing the room and capturing like everything that's going on in this particular scene, in this particular setting or environment. It is like capturing this person's fearful experience in like this moment. And like that is scary. That is scary, right? It's not necessarily like what's going on. It is the fear that someone is feeling at this point in time. For me, that is like what makes the best scary movie scary. Right.
Yeah.
Is like being able to like visually experience like someone else's fear who's like lived this thing that you would also be afraid of. I feel like that is like, as I'm watching this trailer, it's like when you're seeing, you know, the girl under the bed and she clearly is like no one else is in the room, but then someone lays on top of the bed and you feel it sink down. And could you imagine the fear? And you're getting like that like close camera frame of like her fear and that experience of like being underneath the bed at that moment in time. That is scarier to me than like if the camera were to show like a wide angle of that moment of that experience.
Well, because horror is more about what we don't see than when we do, right? Like that's when fear takes hold, is when you don't know. Like you can look at like if you look at something and it's a dark image and you can't really understand like what you're looking at, you're much more fearful than if you could diagnose, oh, that's what the fuck this is, right? Which is why like it's always scarier when you have these type of situations than if you have like a fucking Michael Myers, right? Michael Myers is something that like sure he'll roll up on me with a knife and shank me to death, but at least I know that that's my enemy, right? But when your shit's just like I don't know where this shit's coming from, I can't understand exactly what it is or how it's going to be. Well, now we're in uncharted territory. Now my brain can't process what the fuck's going on here. I'm in fear mode. So yeah. Anyways, that was terrifying.
Yeah, listen.
I'm not going to see that.
This is Paranormal Activity, Next of Kin. Listen, if that was me, next to get shot. Because I don't play around. You know, I got the Ghostbusters hollow tips. That's how I sleep at night.
All right. You go ahead and joke away your fear there. Right?
Yeah, listen. Whatever I have to do to make myself feel safe at night. But so you sleep with the door closed or open?
Right now it's open, but after seeing that trailer, I don't know. We might have to go back. We might have to revisit some things here.
So short, quick, fun story. I used to sleep with the door open because I used to be afraid of like, or fearful of like having the door closed and like just me being in the darkness of the room, right? So I used to sleep with the door open all the time. And then, you know, I've got a little girl, and you know, there would be times at night in which she would wake up in the middle of the night and she'd get scared and she'd come into my room. And there's so many times in which like I would just wake up to her saying like daddy, like I'm scared, and she would be like standing in the doorway, like
oh, no.
you know
terrifying.
In horror movies, there's always like a young girl in like a white dress with covered in blood standing in the doorway. So I'm literally there have been times when like I've woken up to my daughter like standing above me, like wake up, nigga, or in the doorway like daddy. Dun, 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 dun. And I'm like, yo,
terrifying.
You're lucky I have my strap on me.
Terrifying.
I can't wait to tell her this story when she gets older. But yeah, so now I sleep with the door closed. So you better knock, and I got my Ring doorbell with the bundle that you don't have, the infrared. So.
Hey, look,
but anyway, we got another great trailer coming up.
We do. Oh man, a trailer that we've all been waiting
teaser.
for, dude. A teaser. I don't even care what it is, dude. At least we're getting something of it. More Game of Thrones. Look, people are haters, right? So you know the end of Game of Thrones just ruined it for me, man. Shut your bitch ass up. Look, you don't act like you didn't fucking enjoy the rest of the goddamn series, man. That shit was live. What the fuck are you talking about? I'll go back and watch Game of Thrones right now. Right now. I don't know why I had to be so forceful with that, but I will. I will go back and watch Game of Thrones anytime. Look, I watched it like 2, maybe even 3 times back to back before the 8th season. So I just had way too much Game of Thrones. I was dreaming Game of Thrones. I was seeing Game of Thrones, just like how you were talking about how like you just adapted your life to the thing you were watching. You know, I started fucking,
so who's your character then?
Who's my character? I would say... Who's my character?
Who did you mold yourself after?
I would say I'm more of a Sansa than anything, because Sansa grew into her role, and she learned from like past mistakes, and I feel like that's the thing that I've sort of like locked onto, is learning from past mistakes. That's how, you know, learning film and TV shit, or just like, you know, how to work as like a videographer, or like how to just work in that space overall. You are going to make mistakes, but the idea is to learn from said mistakes. And I feel like I've done a decent job of this. That's how I've been able to learn, you know?
Dude, that's a great one, because like Sansa wasn't defined by her mistakes. She like grew and learned from them.
Exactly.
That's a great one. I like that.
Yeah. So I feel like that's who I'd market myself after.
That's a good one. I'm proud of you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That
was a good pull. I wish I'd stole that one first. I'm happy with my answer, but that was a great pull. Sansa, as much as I hated her character throughout the show, at the end you're just like, goddamn.
Yeah, what she becomes is way more than obviously where she started. She grew. Yeah, she's the person who grew the most out of this. But I would like the Jon Snow regeneration thing. That I feel like that's clutch, right? You always need one of those, you know, extra Mario lives, you know, in the clutch moments when death has you by the neck.
Unless when you like come back to life, you still have like student loan debt, and like
then it's unfortunate. Then you're like, fuck, you could have just left me.
Your next payment is due on the 21st. It's like, fuck,
it's the Squid
send
Games?
me back.
All right, look, this is a series that's being was created by obviously George R. R. Martin is right? I have that right? George R. R. Martin.
Yeah.
Obviously he's the originator of all that stuff. Yeah. It goes without saying. Ryan Condal is the I believe the creator of this said show. Multiple writers on the show. This stars Miley Alcock, Eve Best, Emily Carey, Patty Considine, I believe. This is due out 2022. They didn't really have like a specific time, I guess. So we don't know exactly when this is coming out, but you know, hopefully sometime in the very near future. Without further ado, our first fucking glimpse of House of the Dragon. Okay, I realize now that I probably didn't say that from the top, but this is House of the Dragon teaser trailer.
Yeah.
Let's get into this shit, okay?
This will be on George R. R. Martin Networks. Remember that one?
No. Terrible joke.
Gods. Kings. Fire. And blood. Dreams didn't make us kings. Dragons did.
Fam, I am looking forward to this. Oh man. What I'm really curious in is if they dive into everybody else outside of House Targaryen, right? That if they get into the Lannisters, the not Snows, the
Baratheons,
the Starks,
yeah.
You know, if they start diving into some of that, and I'm sure they'll sprinkle that in as we sort of go along. But you know, and if they start sort of like alluding to like the Mad King, you know, like all these things, but also have a character of its own, because I want the show to be successful, and I feel like the only way it's going to be successful is if it's as much as its own thing than something that is just, oh, this reminds me of Game of Thrones, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like it
like don't just tell me like kind of like the early story of the families or the names that have already been told. Like give me something like new to fall in love with.
Yeah. But dude, I'm all in on House of the Dragon. Now it's interesting, right? Because I think dragons are still not a thing at this point in time, right? Like they're still extinct at this junction. This is what 200 years before that of Game of Thrones, and when Daenerys brings them back, it's the only time like in recent history that dragons were sort of brought back into the fold, which is why they're so, everybody.
No, so it's been reported that apparently there will be 12 dragons featured throughout the series.
It's a lot of goddamn.
I believe it's 12. Yeah, it's a lot.
Wait,
Good amount of dragons here.
So they know how many dragons are going to be in this? That's strange.
So yeah, I think in like the planning of the series, right? Because like before they started filming anything, I feel like at least the majority of it was like planned out. So the reports are that this will ultimately feature a total of 12 dragons throughout the series.
Yeah, that's good because I couldn't imagine that they know how many seasons this show is going to be. I'm sure they're planning for it to be as long as it can possibly be, but that's interesting that we know that like up front, right? That they wouldn't just.
Now, granted, it could just be a rumor. It could be like some like disgruntled fired employee who's like, I wanna fucking ruin it for everybody because they fired me because I didn't do my job. I didn't show up on time. But if this series is going to feature that many dragons, I'm all here for it. But you know what? As much as I love this trailer, I somewhat feel disrespected. This is like when a friend asks you for a favor and they try to like sell it to you too much. It's like, hey, like I'm moving on the 8th. Like, can you like come and help? Like just for an hour. Like, like I'll buy you. I'll buy you a bottle of whiskey, or your next beer or drink is on me, and I'll have this and peace. I'll buy you the new Yeezys. It's like we're friends. You don't have to sell this to me. You asked for my help. I'm here to help.
No, but they had They had to throw out a teaser. Like they couldn't just be don't show up at my house, bitch. Like that's not.
No, you know what? Like. If Tunde, if you're like, hey, yo, I'm moving, I need your help. I just day and the time. Give me the day and the time. If I'm here to help, I'll help. You don't need to oversell it, right? Game of Thrones, I love you. Just tell me when episode 1 will air. I'm there. You don't gotta tease shit.
No, you gotta tease.
You don't gotta sell this to me. I'm here for it.
Especially
this trailer was great. I didn't need it at all.
No, especially with the way that Game of Thrones ended and how everybody was a very controversial ending for Game of Thrones. Especially in that light, they had to come out with a pun intended fire trailer, right? For the show coming up, you have to build excitement. You can't just look if you're the LA Rams, right? God forbid, right? If you're the LA Rams, which I noticed that we distinctly did not talk about how they got
Thursday night football, baby.
They got an ass whooping from the Arizona Cardinals. But anyways, neither here nor there.
We got beat, not an ass whooping. What was his final score? It was like 31-24?
No,
something like that?
It's 14. It was like 38-14 or something like that.
Anyways,
okay. So if you're the LA Rams, right, and you did great last season, right? We had like a 12-10 win season, whatever the fuck you guys did last season, right? Great season last season, right? We made it to the divisional round, right, of the playoffs. You can't just rest on that and to come back next year, right? You gotta do it all over again. You gotta start all over again. You don't carry success from one thing to the other. You gotta win the shit again, right? So what do? You go out, oh man, we got this big ass stadium nobody's ever been in. That's a reason for fans to come out. Oh, what's that? We signed this rookie, that person, this person. Okay, all of it to make people excited for your product now. If you just rest on what your product was yesterday, well, you're fucking late to the game. Nobody's going to show up to your shit, right? But if you get people excited about what's going on right now, look, hey, shout out to Jay and Nadia. Look, the Redskins 3 decades ago were really great, right? They got the fucking, what they used to call their fucking offensive linemen, the Hogs, or what they call them? What they used to call them back in the day? I don't know. Whatever
slaves,
the fuck they used to
Native Americans, I don't know. That was a racist organization.
Christ.
That was a racist organization.
Wait, did I say Redskins or Washington? I hope I said Washington.
Yeah, Washington football team.
There you go.
You know, I actually hope they keep that name, Washington football
They
team.
might as well already. It's already.
I'm used to it. Yeah,
It's
you
too
try to
confusing.
rebrand
Yeah,
it to me. Yeah,
Too confusing.
I'm already comfortable.
Yeah. So if you try to do that, right, like, if they rested on what they did like 3 decades ago, people know right now they're kind of like, I mean, literally right now they're not too bad right now, but like over the past decade they've been kind of ass, right? So if you can't rest on the yesterday shit, you got to give me the new shit, you know? And so I feel like as Game of Thrones, look, this whole series is based off, or the series that we're going to be watching now with House of the Dragon is based off of Fire and Blood, which is another George R. R. Martin book, which talks about basically like the fall of, or the beginning of the end of House Targaryen, and how they kind of just, you know, got done in, so to speak. And so look, I'm excited, dude. I'm excited. I can't wait for this, dude. You know what? I'm making a pledge here. Before the start of this new year, I'm gonna crack open one of these here Game of Thrones books. Never did it before. And honestly, as thick as they are, I'm like, fuck, that's a time commitment. Holy shit. But I'm gonna crack open. I might even start with Fire and Blood. All right.
You know, I might do the audiobooks. You might have inspired me to do the audiobook, because I'm not gonna read more shit.
Well, you know what I like to do?
Listen.
I like to do the combination of both. I like to start a book in an audio format, and then I'll pick up some chapters in an actual like book format, and then I'll alternate between the two. Like when I have the time to sit down and read, I'll read, but then you know, if I'm like on the fucking treadmill or something like that, I'll toss on the audio version of it, so I can get it in.
I understand starting to read it and then like picking it up with the audio. I don't understand the reverse. That's like starting to watch porn and then like, you know what, I'm going to turn this off and then I'm just going to think about the rest.
You know, I thought you were going to go in a different direction there. I thought you were going to go with like actual sex, right? Like that's like starting with actual sex and then watching porn. Seems not the way.
I mean, that's a good one too.
All right, you're welcome there for that better example of what the fuck.
No, I think mine's was better because it's like one is like they're really good, but the other is like very, very different than like the original.
Fair enough. All right, let's switch gears here. So that's due out in 2022. I don't know exactly what time. I don't think there's a specific release date other than generally in 2022. But look, let's get to something else here that's pretty important. IATSE, right? Which look, if you were to quiz me before this and explain to me, you know, and I had to like explain to you what IATSE fucking stood for, probably wouldn't be able to fucking tell you, right? But the IATSE, which stands for the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees, it basically is sort of like the grunt workers of Hollywood, right? The people who work, you know, as far as like the grips, the technicians, I don't know, sound recordist. I'm probably butchering this whole explanation of who's actually in IATSE.
It's essentially all the people you see towards the end of the trailer.
Towards the end of the trailer, like, or do you mean movie?
Like the movie credits. I'm sorry, not the trailer. When you're watching the movie credits at the end of a film, when you see like after they list all the like the main actors and like, you know, when you see not after like cop number 1 and cop number 2 and cop number 3, when they like list like key grip and the boom mic guys, and
there you go.
That's who we're talking about right now.
Fair enough. So it's a union, right, of these tech workers and craftspeople from the industry. You know, they can stretch from camera people to costume, prop, yada yada. And so basically, they have or they're trying to nail down a contract with the AMPTP, which is the and now I'm fucking blanking on that too. So the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers, which is basically the producers. So they're working on a contract so that they can do several different things, right? But the big thing is that they've basically voted recently, and like well over 90% of the people who actually voted in this case, which was I think some just below 90% of the people who could vote voted of the union members. well over 90%, I think something to the tune of like 98% of them voted that they're going to strike if the AMPTP doesn't meet their demands for what they want in this new contract that they're trying to sign. I think it's a 3-year contract they're about to sign. So basically, if they don't hammer out a deal within these next, I guess, a few weeks or within some sort of specified amount of time, we might get a fucking strike in Hollywood. Now we went through this before, where I think it was the actors. I think it was the Actors Guild that back in 2009. I think it was the actors. I can't remember specifically who it was in that case, or maybe it was the directors. I forget who it was, but they ended up striking back in like it was 2008, 2009, where fucking we got shortened seasons of certain shows because they couldn't complete the seasons before the strike, and it was just a bad scenario overall. Film productions, shut down. And look, still within a pandemic. This is just not a fucking good look, dude. This is just not a good look. And look, what they want isn't really like that much, right? So I was taking a look at like what the demands actually were. It's real simple, dude. One point of contention is new media. That look, over the past decade or so, quote unquote new media is basically like now the standard. It's no longer new. It's it's just media. When you talk about the YouTubes, when you talk about streaming, when you talk about all this stuff that takes place online, it's no longer new. And these, whether it's studios or producers or whoever, have reaped so much benefit off of new media, right? Exploding revenues for a lot of the people who are involved in this situation, except for the actual workers, right? They have not seen the proportional raises to their wages and shit, as you would think that, hey, if the entire industry is booming right now, as far as and honestly, the pandemic sort of showed how important, quote unquote, new media is, because it became like the one place where you could watch. Like, theaters shut down, right? So it stressed how important streaming and all that shit is, right? Because it's not only is it the new wave, I would argue just the wave, it's how especially in a pandemic setting, is the only way you can watch, new product as far as like TV and film goes. So they're like, look, we want to be compensated accordingly given this new landscape that we're in, or this landscape that's been basically dominant for the last decade or so, right? And to treat it no longer as the sideshow, but as the premiere show, right? Where it's not just like a tack on to your contract, but is built into the contract that, hey, if we hit these certain benchmarks, then boom, look, you get a bump accordingly. Now look, I don't know what their exact structure is going to be, but I would imagine it has something, it's something to that tune. 2, they want sustainable benefits into retirement age. I don't think that's something to fucking, that's too much to fucking ask, right? Look, we just watched Squid Games, and again, we talked about, how the preposterous nature of having, healthcare tied to employment. So they're basically like, as soon as you stop working, fuck your benefits, right? Nobody fucking wants that, and everybody's looking to sort of build up some sort of pension or something so that they can have security after they retire. So I don't think that's too much to fucking ask for. 3, they want reasonable rest. Now, this might be the most immediate thing, right? Along with, I guess, higher wages, but they want real rest between periods. That means if you're on a shoot, and it's like a 2-week shoot, then I don't want to be fucking working 5 12-hour days back to back. Like, I gotta fucking sleep at some point, don't I?
Yeah. All while Will Smith has a double-decker trailer and he gets 8 hours of rest in between 15-minute takes.
Yeah. And then a real weekend rest, right? So an actual fucking weekend, not just some, well, I mean, I guess you could go home for the weekend, but a lot of people are staying. I don't know. You can do whatever you want, champ. So none of that shit, right? Like, I want an actual fucking weekend here. And then C, if I even started this with AB, is effective penalties for elimination of meal breaks and working straight through weekends. So basically, it's just like there seems to be no real true mechanism in place right now to prevent people from doing all these bad behaviors of being like, well, I mean, I guess you could go to lunch or you could just fucking work through it because that's what everybody else is doing, you know? And if you don't, then we'll go ahead and fire you, you know, and we'll just find somebody else who's willing to.
I feel like Joss Whedon on the set of like fucking Justice League like did all of this. He was like, yeah, you know, you could go home for the weekend, but we won't be having you back.
Yeah, him and Bryan Singer.
Yeah, so you're gonna stay. Sleep. You don't need sleep. We're gonna start filming in 12 hours. Stay awake.
It's one of those situations where they say, "Oh yeah. Oh, you want to go to lunch? Oh no, for sure. Go to lunch. And by the time you come back, oh man, sorry. Look,
while you're in line ordering, you get the email from HR like, "Oh, your contract has been terminated." It's like, what? I didn't even get to order my food
in the middle
yet.
of eating Chipotle. You can just pack up your things, get your belongings in your locker, and you're like, I didn't even have a locker.
Yeah. So you don't even have a room anymore. Like, pick up your things in the lobby. Like, you guys packed my shit up. Like, you didn't even let me go back to the room. But no, I mean, I think all of this is reasonable. And like, one of the things to highlight here is like, there are a lot of Hollywood celebrities that have like rallied behind this. So in this article that we're reading here from Vanity Fair, it says, moreover, many Hollywood celebrities have rallied behind the strike vote, including Kate Blanchett, Seth Rogen, Mindy Kaling, Kerry Washington, Jane Fonda, Lily Tomlin. I don't know who the fuck that is. As well as
Lily
Ben
Tomlin.
Stiller.
Isn't she the person in Ant-Man and the Wasp, right? That's Lily Tomlin, right?
No, that's not her. That's fucking somebody else. I know who you're talking about, but that's not Lily Tomlin. But you know who's pissed off? Tom Cruise, because he's been trying to make this fucking.
Whoops. Lily Tomlin, she's a fucking dope actress from she's been in Hollywood for forever. I deeply apologize for not immediately.
Yeah, sorry, Lily.
Sorry about that. More recently, Gracie and Frankie. I don't know why the fuck or Grace and Frankie. Sorry. I don't know. Anyways, I feel embarrassed about that, but continue.
Good for her. Tom Cruise, like, he's trying to film a movie in fucking space. So I'm sure he's like, oh, you guys want rights against UV radiation protection if you die upon re-entry into the Earth's atmosphere.
Absolutely,
you want
nonsense.
You want time off because of exhaustion from leaving the Earth's atmosphere? Fuck that. We got to film my movie. So I'm sure Tom Cruise is looking at this like, nope, I don't agree with it.
Yeah.
But you know, I'm all for this. I do think that like there are a lot of men and women behind the scenes of making all these great movies who are underappreciated, who are underpaid. So, you know, it's about time.
Yeah. And I'm always standing with people, especially if they're looking to if they have some sort of collective bargaining ability, right? Like, that's always super fucking important, because how these employers are able to take advantage of you is if you're all individuals, right? If you're just all individualized and they can keep everything compartmentalized, then they can just fucking control everything that you do. Then it becomes like the norm, right? Then if you don't do the fuck shit that they want you to do, then it becomes, oh, well, we're just going to get somebody else in here who could do the shit. But if you're unionized, and if your union negotiates properly, then you should be able to develop a standard, right, in which they have to abide by. And I think that's super important, especially in industries like this, that you can get only a few people who just fucking dominate everything and then can control everything and basically make your life a living hell, and you just have to accept it, because what the fuck else are you going to do? What other work are you going to do if this is the thing you actually love to do but don't want to have to work 12-hour days in a row because they're just like, well, this is what we're used to doing, this is how it happens, you know? So yeah, I stand with IATSE, if that's even how you pronounce it. I hope they can work something out, but look, fuck it, man. If they don't meet the demands, fuck it, we strike midnight. I say we. I'm not even a part. Yeah, I don't know why at midnight. Like, nobody's even awake. Everybody's sleeping at midnight. But yeah, man. Look, we had one other story about the Panama Papers. I think we could probably save that for another time. I think we've we've exhausted ourselves today, although that is a very rich and interesting story. So if we wanted to cover like super quick, look, long story short, a bunch of rich ass people hiding money overseas. What the fuck's new? Like a news alert for everybody who didn't fucking know this happens in the first place. Rich people doing rich people shit, okay? Which is just hiding money in places where others cannot get to it, okay? Like
so I'll give you a quick wrap up. Like a couple years ago, this was like 3 or 4 years ago, the Panama Papers released. Basically, it was like exposing all the rich people in the world who like have their money hidden in offshore shell accounts. This one was particular to Panama. It's like your favorite celebrities, politicians, movie stars, actors, musicians, blah blah blah, right? So fast forward to today, there's been exposed what's called the Pandora Papers. And like, bro, if you're rich, if you got money, the last thing you want your fucking name in is anything with like ending in papers, whether it's Panama Papers, Pandora Papers, fucking like backwood papers, like whatever. Like I just don't put my name in this shit. So like this is interesting. So this is basically like a tax shelter haven, which includes some of your favorite celebrities, including like Shakira, Elton John, Ringo
I'm not
Starr.
gonna lie. Who the fuck is talking about? Well, Shakira might be a little bit more relevant, but Elton John,
Listen, Shakira is Ringo Starr. I mean, Elton John's got bread. Shakira, she's got that international bread. Listen, her hips don't lie, but her accountant does. Okay.
How long were you waiting to get that off? You've
3 days. 3 days. I literally wrote that joke down. Listen,
oh my God, Jesus Christ!
Listen, we were gonna skip over this story. I know you wanted to skip over it just for a second, but I'm like, I've got this joke in the chamber. I want to let this shit off. But listen, this is unfortunate because, like, I'm sure, you know who's thankful her name wasn't in these papers? Scarlett Johansson, because she just got that Disney bag, and she's like, oh my God, thankfully my money is not in Pandora. She's got her money in Luxembourg. They don't have document leaks there, but she's not going to want to get taxed on that Disney money, that Black Widow money.
No, but look, this goes to sort of just like something that we already knew. Now, obviously, it's proof positive, right? Like it's proof that these people are hiding their monies overseas and avoiding taxes. But look, this is just. Yeah, like when you create an environment that doesn't really punish shit like this, right? Like not in any real way, because I find it preposterous that you can release like the Panama Papers and say, oh, this celebrity does it, that celebrity does it, when we know for a fact companies do it at nauseum, right?
Yeah,
like
Amazon paid zero
brazenly
federal taxes in 2019 and 2020.
They brazenly avoid paying taxes, right? And we're like, no, but Shakira, and it's just like, well, what the fuck? Like not to say that I don't give a fuck about Shakira hiding her money overseas, like sure, but also fucking Google is hiding their fucking, and they have way more bread clearly than fucking Shakira.
And what's interesting about this, and what it highlights is like people get more upset at like individual people who are like hiding their money in tax havens and tax shelters and shell companies. But when it comes to like, the banks that do it, like the major corporations that do it, the Amazons, the Teslas, the Facebooks, the Twitters, we don't care, whatever. But like, let's say you find out that fucking Lindsay Lohan hid $400 offshore. You're like, oh, she should pay taxes on that. It's like, why do you care about individual people when these major corporations are hiding billions of dollars offshore that should be going into that should be generating tax revenue that could pay for the healthcare that you want, the universal education that you want.
You know what the hilarious part about it is we probably have an opportunity to affect these organizations way more than we do the people, right? So like you can boycott Shakira's music, right? But in reality, you could probably, if everybody was like, yeah, fuck it, we're not using Google anymore so long as they don't fucking pay taxes, right? That would be way more effective than like trying to shut down Shakira, right? Like it'd be way more effective to be like everybody at once stop using Google because they don't fucking contribute to society like normal fucking people do, right?
Or even more than that, right? Like let's say you handle it on a city by city, state by state basis. Like let's say you only elect or vote for congressmen and congresswomen and senators and like council members who would agree to or vote for local state taxes for like the major companies that operate within your state, right? And that the revenue from those industries or from those businesses go directly to the education fund in your state or the healthcare fund in your state. So for example, we live in the state of Maryland, right? There are a lot of major companies here in the state of Maryland. Johns Hopkins Hospitals, JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, Under Armour, Fila. There are a lot of huge, McCormick and Schmidt. There are a lot of huge companies that operate here in the state of Maryland that don't pay state taxes, when that state tax revenue could be used to fund education and healthcare. So like, what if like people rallied together and only voted for politicians that like in office that like agreed with like taxing those companies and actually saw through with like those policies, those things that they campaign on, versus like little dumb shit like, oh, are you a Christian senator? Are you gonna hold Christian values? It's like, yeah, I'll hold Christian values, but I'm gonna let Under Armour pass on $400 million in tax revenue, and I'm going to pocket some of that on backdoor deals.
Yeah. So that's the trick, right? Like to get people to actually vote in their own self-interest versus voting for shit that at the end of the day doesn't fucking matter or isn't really applicable to their lives, right? Like, oh, this person just seemed more politician-like, you know, than this uncoiffed person, you know. It's really fucking stupid. But anyways, that's the world we live in. We're all kind of stupid, honestly, myself included. And so that's the lesson for today, ladies and gentlemen. We come to an end to another wonderful episode of the Fade Podcast. Look, perhaps a longer show, but fuck it, we do that from time to time. All right, we talk. All right, that's what we do. We talk. You listen. Some of you do. But yeah, man. Look, we appreciate you guys. We love you guys. But hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, like I always say, share button, do all that shiznit. We will be back next Wednesday with some hot takes. Not really. We don't really have hot takes.
Hot.
We don't have hot takes.
What movie was that from?
I don't even know. I don't know. I thought you had an aneurysm just now.
The Fifth Element. Remember Chris Tucker?
Oh yeah, Ruby Ride.
Yeah.
Yo, I was listening to that soundtrack recently. Yo, fire soundtrack. I don't know.
Fire.
You know, if you go back and listen to that, but anyways,
Blue Flames.
I'm working on a thing right now, and I had to kind of poach one of the tracks off of that soundtrack because I just love the vibe. You know what Fifth Element gives me, and I know we're about to end the show and I'm prolonging it for no good reason, but Fifth Element gives me a lot of anime vibes, man. I just realized that recently, that it's got sort of that aesthetic, that sort of cyberpunk sort of aesthetic to it, and the soundtrack and kind of how it flows, you know. It definitely gives some of that Cowboy Bebop feel to it, you know, the hover cars mixed with the just regular cars, like all that shit like mixed in, although I guess it was just strictly hover cars and
dude, so one of the things you're going to start to realize as you like start to like watch more anime is how much anime impacts
shit.
The world of film and creativity. Like a lot of the stuff you see in film is pulled from, you know, because it's all like just theatrical and fantastical and mystical, right? And a lot of that stuff is pulled from anime. Like I've watched so many movies and I'm like, oh, like I saw that in an anime that I was watching, or like, oh, that's more like, I mean, Squid Games. Like if you look at like the acting that you'll find in a lot of these like Japanese and Korean shows like Squid Games, it is very anime style theatricality. You know, so as you get through, there's one character in particular, once you finish the show, I'm going to highlight for you. She's straight out of an anime that I just finished. So
all right, we'll chat about that later. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we will hit the very usual protocol, as we always do.
Fade out.
Peace out, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy your Wednesdays, Thursdays, whenever the fuck you're actually listening to this. Appreciate you. Love you. Keep your doors closed at night.